interestingly, we were talking about filler words when we're processing. And I remember back in the day, especially when I knew I was going to start a podcast and speak, I became very aware. But then we have Riverside.
So how long
does
have
the
you
whole
been
rap thing.
podcasting for?
2019.
2019. And COVID was when? Because that's when podcasting kicked off.
So I did it the year before COVID.
Look at you.
I know.
Elizabeth is
so
the biggest
evolved.
podcaster ever. And I said to her the other day, I'm like, I love you. Sorry that I didn't want you to get sick, but I haven't had to listen to your podcasts. No Megan Kelly. Melly Kate. Yeah, I don't want to talk about how much of a stalker she is about Megan Kelly, her vacations and her kids and what they weighed when they're born. But
well, you just did.
So back to your point was there ever classes on like the podcast? Because that's when it really blew up, obviously COVID. Was there classes on speaking, pronunciations, those kind of things for the podcast world? Because I know hockey wise, they'll do a couple media tours, but they don't really tell you how to. You learn things. I've learned how to bridge conversations, how to not answer the question that you've asked me properly.
Yes, you do. You're very good at that.
I've heard that I actually learned that from McDonald's Mike's, not from the world. So it'd be interesting. Was there classes or there's things you had to do?
So this is actually really funny. There was, when I decided to start podcasting 2019, it was because the kids were older and I was like, I don't want to play tennis and drink wine. What the fuck am I going to do? That's like what like the women were doing. And I was like, I'll have to be like so good at it. And then also my wine would become a problem. But then I don't play for fun. I need to win. I don't need to beat other people, but I can't just play to be like, oh, I'm playing tennis. I would need to like be fucking good. So I started the podcast, but I did a lot of deep diving into it.
Of course you did. Curious George.
Yeah, of course. But I did deep diving into like what I wanted to do next. Then in 2020, so I started in 2019, that summer, I actually literally came home from a dog walk and was like, I'm going to start a podcast. The kids were like in on the name. I mean, it was so fun. They're like, what, do you know how to podcast? Dan's like, do you know? And I was like, no, but I'll figure it out. I started it in my closet and was like, okay, I'm going to like kind of research.
How big is your closet?
Small. Because my Connecticut, I had a walk-in closet. Here, because it's the beach, we don't have like big closets because you don't need a lot of clothes. Now we live here full time and now I fucking have no space for anything. But I literally, it's you go back, it's very funny because I had my chair in the closet and then I had shelves. And so you couldn't close the doors. So, but because I thought that's what you needed sound, because I like did my own research and it was like, okay, this is not my first microphone. And it was a whole evolving thing. To answer your question, when I started in the summer, COVID happened.
March 18th.
Yeah. So I was doing it 8-9 months. Clubhouse, which was
you mentioned Clubhouse before, yeah.
So it's a social audio app. And that's when it got huge. And that's where I learned a lot of stuff about interviewing. So I would tell personal journal stories. My first podcast was called Next Stop Crazy Town.
You should have just left it with Crazy Town.
And I had a necklace that said Crazy Town. My girlfriend gave it to me for my 40th birthday. So that was my friends called me Crazy Town.
Now you're 52, right?
Yeah. Right. So my friends used to call me Crazy Town. That was like, okay, Crazy Town, what are we doing next?
Surprise.
Exactly. So I told personal journal stories, and it really was because I was doing a whole fitness thing. It was really actually talking to women who were at the same stage of my life. And I was telling stories about my imperfections, like how I dropped my kid out of my chair, like things that women wouldn't normally talk about. But I was like, I wanted people to feel connected and know that everyone is kind of fucked up. People thought, because I was doing a lot of stuff on the internet with like my fitness stuff. So they were like, oh my God, how do you keep it all together? And I was like, open my fucking front door or open my car door. Keep it together. I don't know what you're talking about. So that's what I started talking about and learned a lot on Clubhouse.
Well, that's funny. Everybody always, keep it together. You have no idea what goes on in somebody's house, and that's premise, four walls. You have no idea. and this, no idea what's going on in somebody's head, right? Now here you talk about, what we do, dyslexia, right? You don't know. You, you know, you don't know if you don't ask, but you don't know what to ask if you don't know. It's the
Exactly.
old, I need to get credit, but you can't have credit without a credit card, but I can't get credit without credit.
Yeah.
It's all asked backwards, but that's why we do what we do is, tell her story. Have I ever thought I'm the only one that's been diagnosed late? No. I'm not the only everyone that thought that I was the biggest train wreck in the world. No, I'm not the only train wreck. I am a train wreck. There's other ones with us. It's never once have I ever said I'm the only one.
But you talk about it. A lot of people don't talk about it.
And that's why we're here today, and that's why we do what we do. And does it suck? 100%. But there's a reason why. You're not alone is a tagline for the foundation, because it's not a 1 in 10 million disease or blood a blood disease or a type of cancer or something like that. No, it's not. It's 1 in 5 hereditary. Obviously, it's very common, but people hide behind it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody's open about it, and that's a couple TV shows I watch over and over again. Right? Will Trent.
I just saw an ad for that, by the way.
He'll in one scene, he said it the other day. He goes, "Yeah, oh, you obviously need something because you're here. You never ask for anything. You never check in. He didn't. He's like, you must need something. That's the only time you show up." And I'm like, 100%, right? How many people never value us? Never. Till they need something, right? It's he's like, it's easier to be alone, right, than be misunderstood, right? So it's having these conversations for purpose and for a reason.
It is, and it's a lot of people don't want to. Let's think about social media, right? There's a lot of people that just show you little glimpse of the good stuff, and I always would say, I'm going to show you everything because I want people to know. Like, they might think, okay, I have, like, at night, I have like a nice dress and makeup on, but like, you don't know what happened in the process of that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about it.
My grandpa slippers.
Oh, nice.
Stanza got me.
Christmas.
So now I got grandpa slippers. So that's
nice.
That's what I'm wearing. So there's no makeup or fancy Nancy. It's grandpa slippers.
But it's true, though. If you think about it, a lot of people don't. They don't want you to know because they don't think, but that's where people connect. People are getting way better with it. So it is important to talk. That's why I've been doing it. I was always, when my friends always would know, like, I'm not someone that's going to pretend. First of all, I can't. Even if I tried to pretend to be something that I'm not, it does not happen. More people need to talk about that. That's why we started this. That's why I started my first podcast. That's why, it's important to talk about. We started today with filler words because we had Riverside did the rap. And the first thing was, you laughed a lot, which made me smile. I really was like, oh, and it gives you clips. I'll send it to you because it's like really through the year of every time. And it's usually where we were chatting before and we're like, fuck, we need to hit play. Or we just laughed because of something. But that I thought was really cool. And then we said blindness because how I introduced the podcast. And then the next thing was and I was like, oh, fuck, I did say a lot. That's why you asked me if we had training. But so then you said something important. You're like, well, that's our filler word. And I remember when I was younger, I would say what? And then I remember my mom would be like, well, and then I would answer it. Right. I would say what? And then answer it. Well, why did you say what? And then I think in like relationships that I had, it would become an argument. Well, why'd you say what? And so then I got really good at not saying what because I had to process. And you said that it's our way of processing. Montgomery right now says, whatchamacallit.
Yeah. Obviously I learned when I was doing some TV stuff, you couldn't do, the filler words is very well put. Yeah. It's, does that make sense? Right. We've talked about this, right? It is my filler, but we're so different. I'm asking it for, for a reason, but it is a filler. I say all the time. We process that information very differently than, the left brains. So if you watch anybody long enough who is a right brain, they're going to have their own filler, their own tendencies, to cover that gap while you're processing that information, because people hate dead silence, especially like if you and I are sitting here and there's a 6, 7, 8 second dead silence. People are like, oh, something wrong with my radio, something wrong with my clip, did something click out. So it's to kill that dead air.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's more ADHD, or do you think that is just like, I always, again, remember I was diagnosed with ADHD first. So I thought everything I did was ADHD. So I don't know.
It depends on the situation, depends on what you're talking about. It could be a little bit of both, right? Obviously, you talk about ADHD. If you like it, you're hyper focused, right? Now, I use this example. Everybody's heard me use it many times. In school, Sam drove 10 miles, right? No idea what you said. You're speaking Chinese to me, right? Show me where Sam is, but you're not going to show me. Now, I got to figure out a response to that so that conversation can continue, because so I don't expose myself of who I am. And that's the biggest thing is exposing ourselves, right? The class clown or bull, there's no such thing, right? It's how can I make you laugh? How can I get you off of what you're thinking of? How can I come up with, outlandish things that, that I always come up with, but now I made you laugh. That's the biggest one. You make somebody laugh, they forget about what that conversation was.
Sure.
So it's, to answer your question, it could be a little bit of both, right? Because ADHD, if you really like that subject, you're going to be hyper-focused. You're going to be dialed in and know what you're talking about. But if you don't, right, it's a little bit tougher. You got to go in the toolbox to find what to say, and what angle to attack. So it depends on what that situation is. It depends on how bad the ADHD is for that individual. And you and I, who the hell knows what goes on, what angle that could be. And for us, for me, it's definitely going to be a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's interesting. And so I do want the listeners to think about if their child or their spouse does have any of the 5Ds, and they do sing. It's funny because Dan, as he's gotten older, we call it the pause. And if we're having like it's not even an argument, but any kind of conversation, if he pauses, he gets interrupted in our house. And it's especially everyone home over the holidays. He's like, you guys just keep interrupting. And literally all of us at the same time are like, you're fucking pausing. And right. He's like, well, I'm not finished. And we're like, and I, in my head, count. I'm like, okay, is he fucking pausing? Is he done? Especially if we're in like a heated conversation. And especially as he's gotten older, it's a little bit longer, the pause. But he's processing. And I need to respect that. I need to not interrupt. But when you're ADHD and you're like in a heated conversation and you want to go, I'm not even talking about argument, but if you're just like in, having all the kids home, my mom here, we're all kind of bantering and talking. And if someone pauses, you're getting run over. So it's like, you got to be quick.
And that, and to that point, and earlier you had something in your head and you lost it.
I did.
Right. For that, we lose things very quickly, right? That blender, what speed is your blender on? It never gets shut off. The only time it gets shut off when you pull out the plug. Are we on speed 4 or 5 or 1 or 2? And that, we cut people off. Obviously that's an ADHD, but we don't want to lose our thought, right? Now, for us, correct me if I'm not wrong, it's more embarrassing to sit there and lose that thought and look like a deer in headlights moron than interrupting.
Yes. I love that you just brought this up, because this is something, even when my siblings and I were all together, we all interrupted each other. It was, I think having, there was 5 of us, kids and then parents. It was it was interesting. But we just recently talked about this because, and I never thought it was something that you could get good at not interrupting and holding. So I remember growing up, my dad would talk about, like, if you're just write it down next to you, right? Even as social cues, like when you're with your friends, you don't want to be the one that interrupts, right? But if you also, as you just said, you don't want to be the one that doesn't have anything to say because you forgot what you wanted to say. And especially if you're like excited about the conversation. So I remember when I started podcasting, when I started interviewing, I had a couple of my friends say, I can't believe how good you are at holding what they said and then circling back. And I'm like, I've gotten really good and I didn't even realize. I was like, right, there's so many times I'm so excited to get into this conversation, but you're going to be a terrible podcaster if you're in interviewing and you're interrupting. Like, no one's going to want to be on your podcast. No one's going to want to listen to that either.
Right.
So I innately just did it, but I didn't realize that it was a muscle that you could get better at. I didn't have to write things down, but to your point, it was just something I was very interested in.
Right.
And I could tell if I was interviewing a guest that I really was excited to hear their story. People know I love the deep in depth. I love a good story. I love conversation about people. I love to know how people tick. But there probably was like 3 or 4 guests that maybe I wasn't as connected with. And it was harder for me, but I still did it because, obviously didn't want to interrupt. But that's such a good point and something for people to really think about.
And I think there's only one I want to say for us that was, I guess, on that not an interesting side. I won't say bad or whatever. That crazy lady you brought on. Right? I don't know where you.
I just saw a
know
clip
what
from it.
tree you found her hugging next to. Holy shit!
I interviewed her for my first podcast.
Oh my God!
I just remember your face. You sat back.
No, I did. I had nothing to say. I couldn't even.
If
to shut me up is pretty hard. Like there's times where I'm speechless, very hard. But I couldn't even. I had nothing. I'm looking at this woman and listening to things she was saying. She was talking about unicorns and fucking umbrellas and what's the walrus of the sea, Elizabeth? What's that big thing with the horn?
Oh yeah,
narwhal. She was talking about narwhal. Like it was just yes. So
I love that. Okay, that's so funny, and it's true. But so there's a couple of things, and I love where this is going because I think you've also gotten better podcasting and having to listen and hold on to things. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. I've tried, because in hockey, people are interviewing me, right?
Yeah.
So I had my answers. They're waiting for my answer. I've never been kind of on this side and asking the questions. I've always been the one being asked. So they're waiting for me to answer, waiting for me to finish. They're waiting for me. There's a mic after the game, right? So I've never really been on the opposite side of it. So I've tried to get better. I sure as hell have got to get way better. So the question, you've got to answer that for me.
Well, I think you do. And it's funny because I can always tell
when
you're... Well, no, when you're
open, right?
Yeah, you're like, because when you're excited. Now, I have a question for you. Can you still retain what I'm saying when you're excited to chime in and still listen and still hold your thought? Or are you completely like whatever, disregarding what I'm saying because you're like, oh, I'm just thinking about my question in my head?
No, most of the times that I'm trying to, that I'm waiting to jump in with you is fillers, right? To finish off an idea what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of times it's not another idea. It's like, oh, you're talking, all your siblings are talking, are adding into that, adding to that conversation that we're having. So I get excited because I will lose that. I still do lose a lot of things, 100%. I don't know if that's the ADHD, the concussions, or
there's a lot behind that.
There'll be a little bit of both. There'll be times where I will lose it, and see how I just said right there.
Yeah, but I think you're thinking, but I think you have gotten where I just don't know if you're still like retaining what I'm saying, but I think you are, because it's never like, never like you're coming in and then it's like, where did that come from? That was like 2 minutes ago. You're never like that. So I think you have, and there are times where you bridge something off. I think you've gotten way better. One of the things I think is interesting, I mean, I said to you, I listened in the beginning. I think you have really, I mean, I don't know if I would say way better. I think you've, to me, the way we have conversations has always been pretty good. You never interrupted me. I mean, there's every once in a while you'll be like, I'm sorry I interrupted, but you really don't. We don't really interrupt each other. We usually let the other person finish, and you can kind of tell, I can kind of tell by your body language that you're ready. So I know, okay, I'm wrapping it up. Let me finish my thought. Now, when you go back, when you sit back, because there's been like a couple different podcasts where I think you're like, okay, this is interesting. I just want to listen. And I know this is going to go for a long time. Or is it disinterest?
Depending on what I have to watch, so is my anger.
Yeah.
Right. So, something we're, interviewing, or a topic that we're covering, that we're covering, talk about dyslexia, right? Recently we had somebody say, oh, you guys swear a lot. We haven't sworn once. That's when my anger gets in, right? My hurt, my past of my childhood, right? Those kinds of things. That's when when I get angry, and then that's when I can't catch myself, right? So I have to watch. That's my biggest thing is, we have to watch that, because if I get heated, right, then it's, those wires just kind of cross, and then, the train goes off the track. So I've always said, if I can take the emotion out of it, all good.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, talk about divorces, right? Divorces are always bad because they're all emotion, right? Yeah. If you can make this, if you can make this, and that's kind of a lot of the stuff, as your friends all said when we first started, it's always so negative. And your dad's like, no, realist. It's not negative. It's reality.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's, when I talk reality, it's just what it is, right? I'm not making it up or not telling a story, right? So it's living in reality is less of an emotion reaction than not, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it totally does. Because I feel like you're good at controlling your anger. Like it takes a lot for me to get pissed, but then when I get pissed, you cannot shut it off.
Yeah, you cross the line with me. There's been a few lines that have been crossed for a few peoples, and recently I think I had like 72 drafts of an email, and Elizabeth says her thing is, just sleep on it. No, I'm not sleeping on it. God damn it, I'm not doing it. And right. I've never heard that one until, and she knows that, at work, her boss or whatever, they know they're not getting an answer out of her, no matter what it is, changing concepts or whatever that is. They know that she sleeps on it.
That's her human design.
Oh, Jesus.
That is literally, don't Jesus Christ it. It is 100%.
I wish the camera is right now and see her face, because she heard that and she's dying laughing. But
I already told her that. But that is the way she processes it. That's literally how she was born. That's how, and she knows it, which is great. A lot of people don't know it, and they make decisions before they sleep on it.
Well, and for me, I've been hurt so many times. Like, I've been taken advantage of. I've been fucked over. Like, so anybody who goes there, I go scorch earth now. Like, you cross that line with those feet, you're not coming back. And obviously, recently just had that, you're not coming back, and you're going to know you're not coming back, right? You fuck with me, you fuck with my family, right? People that I care about, and like the foundation, kids. I said the other day, I'm the most racist person ever against bad people. I don't care if you're white, brown, purple, pink, blue, greeny, bluey. I don't care. I don't care what religion you are, what race, from what country from. If you're a bad person, if you're stealing from a kid, you're hurting a kid, hurting a woman, like, I'm going to hate you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the fact of the matter, is because of what's happened in my life.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So what I want people to think about is when they have people in their lives to like, you can read people. A lot of people don't know how to do it, but it's not that hard if you are just like aware of your surroundings and aware. That's especially for like kids with, ADHD. I remember when I was
Ugh.
diagnosed and being like, oh, wait, I'm that. Like I used to hear my mom talk about the kid or a teacher talk about that
Ugh.
boy, right? The close talker. And I was like, I'm not a close talker. I have a lot of friends. What are they talking about? I'm not like all of the things, the negative stuff about ADHD. You're too much, you're all these different things. If a parent is sitting here thinking about, it's easy to teach a kid, hey, if someone seems like they are stepping back a little bit or moving their body a certain way, like you can teach people
Oh.
cues that like that person does not want to be in the conversation with you. So just move on. Like it's not worth your hurt or, your time. You can read it before it happens pretty quickly.
Well, you know what? That's an interesting topic. And then for me, obviously, my anger is I know exactly. I obviously, each time we're reading people, I can.
Yeah.
It might be a skill that I have. Probably might be my top skill.
Yeah, it is.
That's the dumbest skill.
It's not.
When you know what's coming and you can't do anything about
it's
it,
frustrating.
Frustrating. Well, and then you just said something. The close talker. We get excited. Elizabeth used to say, she goes, when you go down, you go down. Well, because we get excited to do something little. We get excited to, we get excited to be a part of a conversation, feel like you're contributing to a conversation. Oh my God, I feel that way. Or as a kid. So the close talker is the excitement, the connection that you think might be there that you don't have there. So it's not a bad thing. Like it's the education behind what we talk about all the time, the dyslexia, ADHD, like, the kids close talk. He's like, so, oh my God, I had this, or I got this. So, like, there's excitement, there's connection there. There's something there, right? That's why they're doing this. It's the difference, it's the call I have in an hour with a freshman who's disconnecting from his parents. Right. So the negative, oh, he's a close talker. Well, why? Back to the key is why. Like now I got to call in an hour about the kid disconnecting, right? Well, why is he disconnecting? He's diagnosed with dyslexia. I know that for sure. I don't know what else, but right. Why? So take a second to learn about it. What does that mean? Johnny's always in your face. Well, Johnny's trying to find a connection or jumping in a conversation because he feels like he can add something to a conversation. Very rarely we think we can.
Yeah. And when the kids are little, it's right. It's before their self-awareness happens. And then when the self-awareness happens is when the hurt.
How many adults have self-awareness?
Well, that's my biggest thing. I'm like, so many people don't have self-awareness. It's painful. It's like, what? It's painful. Like what? Actually makes me insane. But kids don't have it because adults don't have it, right? I mean, you're standing in line and someone like walks right and stands like right in front of you. You're like, excuse me, there was a line here. Oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Fucking, I mean, it's just, there's so many people that are not, but you also know, you don't know what's going on in their life. And that's what I always kind of say before I get annoyed. It's like, are they a dick or is there something going on?
There's always something going on. We all have something, right? But self-aware, there's a difference between self-aware and not care. Like in a store, somebody walking around on speakerphone.
Oh my God.
Oh, I get involved. I'm like, I start yelling in the phone.
Crazy.
There's almost a brawl in Walmart before Christmas.
Oh my God. But it's so, or like when you're at a basketball game and you bring little kids and you have you have a phone TV on and you have it at blaring loudness. So the kid sits, what? Whatever. It's speakerphone. And because people don't care what's going on around, but it's so,
they think they're better, and that's, nobody's better than anybody. We're all struggling. Everybody's struggling. If that's financial, that relation, whatever it is, everybody has something. And I always say, if we all stood in a circle and threw our problems there, we'd fucking jump our own problems because they're not as bad as the next person, or whatever that is. We all, every single one of us, anybody who wants to pretend that they're a fucking desperate housewives, that everything's almost perfect, go fuck yourself, because that's not reality. I live in reality. Do I tell people to fuck off? Right, 100%. I don't give a shit. It's reality. This is how it is. Like, you want to be a dick, you want to be a bitch. Oh, you'll hear it. Because guess what? You're not better than anybody else. I don't care if you've got a plane. I don't care if you got a fucking mansion. You got 65 horses. I don't care. We still put our pants on every single day the same way. We still have the same emotions inside and outside. I still get the spam just like you guys do every day. Right? It's reality. And if you want to pretend you are better, that's not where I live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you go to the language there. So this is, the takeaways for this episode for people to think about is filler words. The person that you're talking to, why are they using filler words? Are they processing? Or are they paying attention to you, not paying attention to you? Cues on body language, but also thinking about the kid that is just excited. And, it could be your niece or nephew. It could be the kid that's the grumpy kid, right? And you don't know why they're grumpy, what they're going through. There's so much around the holidays that comes out. We're taping during the holidays. These are going to be all in 2026 when they're going to go out.
Holidays are fake. And that's where I have a problem too. Like, why gifts? You can buy some gifts, no problem. Kids are kids. Yeah. Where's the togetherness? Where's the family? Where's the love? Like, that's what this is for. Somebody was born on Christmas, like, it's love. Like, that's what's missing in this world. Is mm-hmm. love. It's the gifts. That's, you're trying to hide behind that. That's not, and that's where I've had a problem with those holidays. It's supposed to be family. It's supposed to be holidays. It's supposed to be those little things are what drive the world. And those are what things that are missing. It's the kid just wants to be loved. The woman, the man, whoever, they all just want to be loved. And that's a gift doesn't make somebody loved.
Exactly. Yep.
Even if you were born on Christmas. So I was referring to you. Right?
I was born on Christmas. And it's funny because people always say, oh, how was that? And I'm like, I absolutely loved it because the entire family was there. They're like, did you get more gifts? And I was like, that's not my love language. Gifts, or if someone loves to give a gift, it's fine. I'm, not going to not take a gift, but I really just love the family being together, the kids all being together, us playing card games. And, me growing up, my mom had a huge family. She always hosted. So everyone was always there. It was, people sang to me, but it wasn't about the gift. I didn't care about that. I really didn't.
Ukrainian Christmas. So we're both Christmas babies.
Yeah. Christmas babies. Yeah. Look at that. That's where we're special. In so many levels.
We always get the first parking spot everywhere we go.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we're going to leave it at that. And I think that's a lot to think, for people to think about. I'm excited for this year. I'm always excited. I love to think about the fantasy lands and what's going to be happening. But 2026 is going to be a really big year for so many things. The foundation, just what we're doing, but the helping that we're giving and receiving. More people I know it's funny how many articles do you get from people that are like, oh, they mentioned dyslexia, or someone here, did you know this person? Do you get that all the time?
No.
Oh, I get it all the time. You don't? That's so funny.
Ever.
And then I think people always are sending me like, did you know this person was, listen to this podcast. This is like, they just mentioned they were dyslexic here and there. Whether it's more people are talking about it, which I do think more people are getting a little bit more comfortable saying the word. I'm not saying that they're comfortable with the dark parts, because we know that they're not, because anytime we're like, oh, let's get into conversation. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. But more people are kind of in my world, or what I'm being sent is saying it. I have dyslexia. School wasn't easy. But that's kind of where it's going. I can't wait to get more in depth and have more guests on and break down where people can talk. And I just want to leave it. Remember the other day we were talking, and one of the things that is really important is when you talk about it, you heal. You heal. What is it? Feel to heal. Heal to feel. What? Where can I get that in my head right now? You have to feel to heal. And a lot of people, we have a couple people in our lives right now that are really going through this journey and are feeling all the feels and are like, I'm shedding this. I'm feeling so much better that I'm acknowledging all the hurt and anger, right? I've just went on a run and this is not me. This person, I just went on a run and I just, just felt like I shedded so much, but that's the importance of it. So acknowledging that you have it, that's great. And this is for anyone that's like, oh yeah, I've been talking about it, but are you really talking about it? And that's one of the things that I want to kind of challenge people on this year is think about those really shitty, sucky times. And one of the questions that someone has asked me, or some of the work that I'm doing, and it really took me, even after doing all of this, the podcast where I've healed so much, is when was the first time in your life that you remember not feeling like 100%, like where you feel a disconnect, or like think about the time, this is how it started. Think about the time in your life where you had the most joy as a kid. Like I remember just running the neighborhood and like, that's not it in the best way, climbing trees, just being free and not having anything to worry about. And then I remember the first time where I had that anxiety stomach feeling, and that was fucking school. And doing that work is really important. So I'm challenging more people to do that. Do you want to talk about the first? Well, we know it was on when you were on.
Yeah, no,
on the pod when you were skating.
Yeah, playing hockey was, I never had to worry about answering a question or reading or working on the farm. It was obviously nowhere near school. Schools were obviously, where all my stuff is. Traumas are, being on that ice rink or, playing street hockey or anything away from school where I didn't have to read or write or do a math problem or was a spot for me.
Yep. All right. So everyone, I say it all the time, and I'm going to say it in this one too. Like, rate, review, and share. And we'll see you for another episode of Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed.